Hello, thank you for joining me today. My name is Jesse Hill and I'm the president of Tier 3 IT Solutions. Today we're going to be talking about cybersecurity awareness training and why it's important, not just from a cyber risk perspective, but why it's important in your cyber insurance and application and compliance perspective. So thanks a lot. We'll jump right in. So I think the first thing that we should address is that cyber insurance is, in the big scheme of things, relatively new and changing rapidly. So as a cyber insurance carrier, what they are trying to understand is when they write an insurance policy for a small or medium business, what does their risk look like? What is the risk profile? How much would a loss actually cost? And then of course they're working backwards to think about how can they write the policy in a way that encourages their client, the small and medium business owner, to put protections in place to reduce that risk. And one of the things that I find really interesting is that sometimes people think about their insurance in a negative way, in that they're being told to do something or they have to do something because their insurance requires it. But when you take a step back and you look at it from a cybersecurity perspective, it's a best practice. It's something that is going to not just reduce your risk, but improve your operational efficiency and give you the ability to recover faster if there were to be a cyber incident. So the cyber carriers, they are constantly trying to adapt their coverages and their questionnaires to make sure that they understand the risk and that their policies are built in a way that, yes, protect you, but also protect them. Remember, they're running a business where they need to minimize, their financial losses. So they're trying to adapt to the emerging threats that are coming out, what the coverages and limitations in their policies are. They want to ensure that their clients are compliant with any regulatory requirements, and then just encouraging best practices around risk management. So increasingly what we're finding is that cyber insurance carriers are requiring more and higher level cybersecurity controls to be put in place before they will write a policy. And in particular, today we're talking about cybersecurity awareness and training. And every application that I've seen this year has a question to the effect of, do you provide and require your staff to complete regular cybersecurity awareness training? And you have to say yes or no. The important thing to recognize is that a high percentage, I think the industry report is that over 90% of cyber incidents start with a human error. More often than not, it's because somebody has poor cyber security password hygiene. They have fallen for a phishing attack, or they've been compromised in some other way through a free software install, or perhaps even an online extortion or blackmail type of attack. So knowing that our people are the number one entry point for cyber risk, it's important to train them. And it's important to be able to prove to your insurance provider that that training has occurred and that people have participated, that they've completed the quizzes, and that it's happening on an ongoing, recurring basis. So some of that needs to happen internally through a training platform. Some of it would be perhaps through outside parties doing higher end incident response planning training, simulations, those types of things. But sometimes the insurance provider will actually have a requirement on their own that they're going to provide. So when you are applying for cyber insurance, make sure you understand what your carrier's requirements are so that you can put in place the practices to comply with them. I've mentioned a couple times that investing in cybersecurity awareness training doesn't just help you get an insurance policy, it actually helps you lower your risk of experiencing a cyber incident. And by extension, it actually helps you to improve your business operations, your efficiency, your continuity, and your financial results, because you're at a lower risk of suffering a crippling cyber incident. So it does play a vital role in protecting your business because, as I said earlier, most incidents start with a human element. When your people have that heightened awareness and understanding of the cyber risks, they are more likely to stop before a problem occurs, to report a problem, and to be able to participate in discussions that helps the people around them understand more about those threats. And then the last two that we have on here is the response capabilities and continuous improvement. So the thing about cyber incidents is that they can vary quite drastically. And when you are in the middle of a major cyber incident, that's not the time to be figuring out who's responsible for managing public relations, who's managing legal, what kinds of forensics do we need to have involved. The time to do that is before. You should have an incident response plan. You should have people assigned in roles that understand the requirements and what they need to do in that situation. And then remembering the continuous improvement part is that the cyber threats that we're going to face tomorrow are different than the threats we faced last week. So 10 years ago, ransomware was not as big of a deal as it is today. And the double extortion threats of extracting information and holding it for ransom wasn't as prevalent in the past as it is today. As we continue to adopt AI, there will be new attacks, new threats, new risks that we all have to face. So it's important to continuously be training and upgrading and learning more about the current cyber threats facing you and your people in your business. Now, we're going to talk a little bit about cyber policies. And admittedly, this is not the most exciting topic to discuss and something that I personally struggle with sometimes, but it is really important that your team and your people understand what is acceptable in terms of using technology in your business. So is it acceptable for them to install any program or application that they want? Is it acceptable for them to visit certain types of web pages that may not be business related? Is it acceptable for them to copy information onto a USB stick so that they can move it from one device to another? All of these things, in the lens of looking at it after a cyber incident, become very clear that those are not good practices. But if we don't have policies in our businesses that tell people what they can and can't do, then how can we expect them to all have the same perspective? So you want to build out a set of policies that encourages responsible use of your technology, that's protecting your operations, that's aligning you with any requirements that you might have, with your cyber insurance provider, any regulatory compliance and those types of things. It also helps to build accountability within the organization so that people know that protecting from a cyber incident is not the job of the IT department or the IT company. It's the job of everybody that works there. Because again, most cyber threats start from a human failing or a human element. So just set a goal to continuously update, renew, create these policies and keep people up to date, and you'll be ahead of the game, because quite frankly, most small and medium businesses, they don't know where to start and they haven't done this quite yet. All right, let's talk about phishing awareness. This has been the number one entry point for cyber threats into businesses. And phishing attacks come in many different forms, but essentially they are designed to impersonate a user that somebody in your business trusts or has a reason to trust, that they then share information or give access that they shouldn't be sharing with that person. So it's really important that you run training, first of all, so that your people understand the risk of sharing information and giving access through these methods. The second thing you need to do is you actually need to run phishing simulations where you use a platform that sends what are seemingly legitimate emails to your team but are actually phishing attacks. It allows you to see who falls for it, who is at risk, who needs more training. When you do those two things together, we don't want to be approaching it from a negative perspective. We want to be using it to train and empower and encourage people that when there's a threat, they play a part in protecting against it. And encouraging people to report risks, to talk about things that have happened. If they accidentally clicked on something they shouldn't have, let us know. Let leadership know. Come up with ways to check to make sure that there hasn't been any inadvertent compromise of the systems. And then the last thing we want to talk about today is about secure remote work practices. So many of us, we work from home, we work on the road, you're in a hotel or a truck or a coffee shop. And there are so many little things that can be done to put you at risk, but also so many little things you can do to protect your business and your information. It can be things as simple as being aware of who can see your screen while you're working, locking it when you have to turn away from it, making sure that if you have to leave the table that you're at, that you're taking your computer with you, making sure that when you're connecting to Wi-Fi access points that you trust them, that you verified them, or that you're using a secure transmission protocol like a VPN. Ensuring that your information is stored in the appropriate place. And an example of this would be making sure that you're saving it into your cloud storage instead of onto a USB stick. And just generally making sure that as your team are working in places that are different than they used to, that the device and the information and the access to the information is being protected above all else. Because at the end of the day, your computers are replaceable. The information that you create and store and share and use to service your clients is incredibly valuable. You need to do what you can to protect it. Again, my name is Jesse Hill. I'm the president of Tier 3 IT Solutions. Happy to chat with you about any of these topics that we've discussed. If you have any questions or comments, please reach out, and I hope you have a great day.